Hi there, welcome back to Switched to Linux. So this is going to be the last of the tutorials on setting up the distro within the VirtualBox to behave sort of like a Mac and get some basic functionality going. So last time, if you recall, we had worked through setting everything up. We'd gone through guest editions. We ended on the note that the mouse button was scrolling backwards. It turns out that the problem seems to be an issue with guest editions inside of Fedora here. So as we load up the guest editions, it will cause a conflict with the one of the software packages that controls the mouse wheel, and it causes the mouse wheel itself to roll in reverse. So several people propose a solution to go into settings and turn on or off natural scrolling. That does not actually do anything, at least within the VirtualBox. So the solution is to remove the file entirely. If you remember in the last time when we were running the updates, I never updated the file. That was my mistake. It wasn't the file not being updated. It was the mere presence of the file. So to fix our mouse wheel, we're going to go in reverse. Remove that whole file entirely. We're also going to walk through how to set up a printer. We're going to look at and talk about the codecs and the audio, and we're going to just look at how to install and look for some other basic programs that you might want to run. I'm going to hit my Command F here to go full screen. So we're starting back out with our Mac. The first thing we want to do is we're going to fix the mouse wheel. So we need to load up our Yum extender. Now on the terminal, if you were doing this through the terminal, we would just be able to come in here and go in and just hit the sudo dnf remove and the name of the driver, which is the xorg. What is it? Xorg -x1 x11 -lib input. So if you just did that, hit enter, hit your password, it would take the thing out, and then we wouldn't have any problems. So what we're going to do here, we're going to search. Again, the file is xorg x11. I might have the x11 part incorrect, so let's see if this shows up. Nope, that's right. Xorg x11 drive lib input. So this is our offending package on our mouse wheel. We need to check that box there. Notice from our queue that we are going to be removing the package because it was green and we hit the check mark. That means we're removing it. Process the queue. This is going to give us a pop-up box here telling us that we're going to remove this file. We hit OK. It will prompt us for a password. Now, for this change to come into effect, we actually have to log out and log back into the system. So I'm going to do that because a reverse scrolling mouse wheel is actually quite annoying. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to come over here, hit the logout button, hit the logout. Log right back in, and now our mouse wheel should be working correctly. Now we'll move on to install the printer. So printers are fickle machines. Some of them work really well with all sorts of hardware. Some of them don't. Some of them work really well with Linux. Some don't. Some work really well with Windows. Some don't. Some work really well with Mac, and some don't. So I have two printers in my office. One of my printers I have perfectly set up across all my Linux computers with no problems at all. But for some reason, Fedora inside this VirtualBox, it will not install. I haven't gone through all the command line stuff. I'm sure I could get it installed, but as of right now, it doesn't really matter because I'm not really planning to print a whole lot off of Fedora. But you might be. Now, I do have another printer here, which is the Epson Workforce 2650. This guy, you just set the thing up and it works. We do have to install some extra software packages. So I'm going to go into settings first, and once we hit our settings, then we're going to hit the printers button under hardware. Now, anytime you're coming in here to change your printers, you need to hit this unlock button, which will prompt you for the password. And now we hit the add a printer button. So what it's actually doing right now is it's kind of scanning all its ports. It's looking around to see if there's a printer anywhere that it can find, and it will check networks, and it will check plugged into the computer. In this case, the printer is simply attached to my Wi-Fi network. This is the correct printer. Hit Add. So as it's installing its device drivers, what some printers will do, and this one might, it may give you a pop-up notification up here that you need to install extra drivers. It looks like the extra drivers are already installed because of my earlier test. Now, one of the challenges with this particular printer is if we click on the printer name here, it actually loads it in first as a dot matrix printer for some reason. I don't even think those things exist anymore. If you don't know, remember what a dot matrix printer is, good for you. They were pretty ugly. But anyway, when I had first put this in, so here it is, it would actually set it up as a generic ESC/P dot matrix printer. So I tried printing with it. I did not even notice that that's what it was. And I printed out some stuff. I'm like, well, it prints at least. And then there was a little bit of a conflict because this printer actually is almost out of all of the ink. I effectively only use it as a scanner. My other printer is my print guy. So I'm like, well, maybe that was the problem. Ran a test on another computer that I knew it had worked on before, and yeah, it's pretty ugly, but not that bad. So what ended up happening is I needed to click on that model. It gives you a list, and this is populated based on the driver. I just needed to select this guy up here, which makes the most sense for the printer. Now I can go ahead and push a print, and it prints out perfectly. So now we have a printer set up. That was relatively painless. Now, as far as the codecs are concerned, if you want to play audio, Fedora is part of an absolute purist form of Linux where not only do they not package codecs, they do not give you the option to install them like Ubuntu or Mint does when you first go to install them. They make it straight out difficult to install, which is one of those things that I really don't like about Fedora. Of course, once you get it set up, it works. But I'm going to illustrate what you're doing. Now, the philosophy behind it is that a lot of the common tracks that we use these days are actually MP3 formats, is actually a copyrighted system. Now, the purest, truest form of Linux is purely free and open source. And that doesn't mean you're not paying for it. It means that it's not tied down to a company. It's not tied down to a copyright. And so basically, as far as music is concerned, that means you're stuck with some default music systems that I'm sure are fine. But I just don't have a lot of them, and nor do most people. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate for you here is some of my frustration. If we come down to podcasts here in RhythmBox and we go to add a podcast, I can do a search for some podcasts here. I happen to like Dave Ramsey, so let's go and do a search for Dave Ramsey because we have the Dave Ramsey's podcast. So we're going to hit subscribe. So great, we're getting some episodes downloading. You'll see down here it's downloading the podcasts. So if I come down here and go, oh, nice, I just got a couple podcasts here to listen to, and I hit play, it's going to give me a notice that additional media codecs are required. So click on that button, and it takes us to our software center. Only what many Linux distros, even though it's a little controversial, many distros will actually include the codecs. Here it tells us, oh, we couldn't find those. Go to this website for more information. So let's go boot up this website. So it takes us to the page here where it talks about the missing codecs. It doesn't actually tell us how to install these codecs. So basically the best way, you have to hunt around for this site a little bit. So what you want to do is, I'm just going to type in Fedora 24 MP3 codecs, and then here we're going to get a couple of pages. One of these is going to take us to the primary page where it's going to give us the correct information. So here is the best page to gather this information. So what we actually need to do is set up and install these codecs through this GS streamer. So we actually have to start by typing in this command here. So what you can do is just copy this guy here, highlight it. I'm going to copy it. Now their first step is to do su. We're not going to do that part. We're just going to type in sudo and then this line into the terminal. So we're going to load this up. We're just going to type in terminal. Don't get afraid. It's just a terminal. So to install this package, we're going to type in sudo, and this means that we're going to be using the command line as if we are an administrative user. And I'm going to hit space. I'm just going to come in here with my mouse, right click and paste, hit enter. It's going to prompt us for our password. We're going to type that in. Notice as you type in your password, you don't even have any characters to see how long it is. That's very nice information. Doesn't let anybody see how long your password actually is. Many times when you're installing these types of packages, it will ask you a confirmation that you want to install it. Hit Y or N, hit enter, and then it's going to proceed through. So there's how to install just the first part. And then we need to install the streamers here. So we're just going to grab these guys right here. Oop, I need to grab that D in there as well. See how this is moving along? Good, so it tells us it's complete. Once again, we're going to hit sudo, and we're going to paste in again. Now this one here allows us to play movies. Our software center is still looking for something. We're not worried about that. We're taking care of everything right here in the terminal. Hit the yes. And then down here for audio streams, things like that, we need the MP3 codecs. So we're just going to grab this part here. Now you'll see down here it says we can play with VLC Player. So if you installed VLC Player, particularly from the terminal, then VLC actually is one of the systems that actually comes with a lot of its codecs prepackaged. So if you have a standalone system, like a standalone file that you're playing and you can't seem to get it to work, downloading a VLC from the terminal is going to come with it all of the various packages, so that you should be able to watch or listen to just about anything over there. I know I don't use VLC Player a whole lot, but I do use it to interact with my NAS system, so I can stream any of my music from to any of my devices, because VLC is pretty much ubiquitous. So the last one, though, we're going to install the audio codecs here. We're going to go ahead and hit that. So there we are. You can just close the terminal, or the old school way is just type exit. It'll go away. Now my only question here, our codecs should work. I'm not sure how well they're going to work because I am recording on the screen system here as well. But we're going to give it a try here. We're going to see what happens. Going to go back to my podcasts. Here's this. And okay, so it's, oh, where is it playing? Yep. It's maybe having a conflict because of my recording systems, but if I come on here and if I come on here without recording, then I should be able to listen to the music at that point in time. So I'm not going to test that completely. The last thing we want to do is, in case you need to install any other types of programs. So under our show applications, you'll see that we have our Office programs here. But what if you happen to be involved in some other type of work where you need a little bit more software? Now, we don't just have that. Of course, we have our internet. We have our Office. Cheese allows you to do some camera work. Videos allows you to play some videos. There's Shotwell is a video editing type system. But if you need more than that, just open up your software center here. Of course, it's still complaining about the codecs, so I'm trying to get that to go away. There we are. Now, if you need whatever type of work you need, if you're like a web developer, you could type in like a web editor. Let's see. So here's for web type stuff. Just do web dev. Bluefish editor is an excellent editor for HTML code. So you just come over here and click what you want. Chromium is actually an open source version of Google Chrome, so you can install that. If you happen to want a different web browser, or if you prefer Google, you might like Chrome. So basically, you just want to come through here and find the various types of packages that you think you might need. If you want some image editing, you might do GIMP. So installing GIMP is a nice sort of like an open source version of Photoshop. If you're doing music editing, Audacity is available for Linux. It should be in the software store. I think we're getting some slowness from trying to install too many programs at once here. Let me wait till GIMP's done installing. Now, the email program that comes with Fedora is Evolution. This is effectively just like the old school Outlook. Now, a lot of your email platforms are now moving to this more Mac-like system where all your emails are listed separately and keeps everything nice and separated. I'm not a big fan of that type of email format. I really like the old school Evolution. In fact, the old Thunderbird, I want to say prior to version 3, actually looked just like the old Outlook or the old Windows Live Mail, or was it? I think it was just called Outlook Express actually back in Windows XP, which I really liked that program. I thought it was great. But the Evolution actually is set up, that's the one that the email program that comes on this distro, that system is set up just like your old Outlook. If you do like the modern system, you're probably going to want to install Thunderbird. So here's Thunderbird, is a nice program there. We're going to see if Audacity's on here. So here's Audacity, so if you want to install that. If you are doing things with a lot of different taggers, like a lot of different media files and things like that, I like Kid3 as my tagger for doing MP3 tags. So that is a nice tagging system. Brasserio is for CD and DVD. Now, this distro comes with RhythmBox as its default audio player. RhythmBox is very much like iTunes, which I actually don't like very much. I like the old school Windows Media Player, so I install Banshee on most of my systems. Banshee is much more like Media Center, not Media Center, but Media Player. And while we're looking at this screen here, GNU Cache is actually an open source type version of QuickBooks. So pretty much anything that you want, you can probably find as far as production software. You can also look at various games if you're into that type of things. And then there's categories down here, so you can just hit a category and flip through. So here's action type games, adventure type games. There's role playing. So you'll see all sorts of different options as far as installing software. So there's, in a nutshell, running through a setup and install of Linux here. The biggest part was the hour or so it took to do the package upgrade. Other than that, if you look at the videos, these are mostly unedited. So, you can have an entire operating system up and running in, just a matter of a couple of hours. So I hope you enjoyed our Mac series. Also check out our Windows series, getting started with Windows. In the meantime, this has been Tom with SwitchedToLinux.com.